Faust. This book is written by one of the most prominent Western thinkers and writers, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. He spent almost his entire life iterating on this manuscript, and it was not until his 80s that he felt like it was done. It's a blueprint for how to live, one could say, but it's also the original making a deal with the devil story. Let's go. Hi and welcome to the Book Lab. I'm Björn, and this is where we bring you the best book recommendations on philosophy, psychology, human nature, human potential, all that good stuff every week. And today we're talking about Faust. He's an aged academic and scholar. He spent his whole life accumulating knowledge, but he has very little to show for all his hard work. No achievements, no real power in the world, no love. He feels like a loser, like what's the point of it all? One day Faust runs into a dog, a poodle, and for some reason he lets the dog follow him home. But lo and behold, the dog transforms into a devil, Mephistopheles, who offers to grant Faust his every wish. He gives him the energy of youth and the ability to do whatever he wants. First, Faust thinks that he could become an elite bookworm of sorts, that he could get his hands on the most rare and finest manuscripts available in the world. He also dabbles a little bit with hedonism and worldly pleasure, but in the end he thirsts for a purpose beyond himself. Quote, a Faustian idea that in order to flourish we need to flirt with things that are quite dangerous, but hold on to a sense of higher purpose. My interest in Faust was piqued when I started to see references to this book in almost every other book that I read, and in really good ones as well, like The Denial of Death, Steppenwolf, a Nixon biography that I read, just to name a few. This book is literally referenced everywhere. I just started this book, I Am Dynamite, A Life of Friedrich Nietzsche, and on the first page there was a Faust reference. So I really thought like, shit, I have to read this book. I listened to it as an audiobook with proper acting, and it really added to the experience.
If I succumb to lethargy, I'll be a slave, whether to another or to you.
There's just one thing. If you would sign a document for me, I like to do things right.
Oh, how pedantic. Have you never heard that you can take a man's word as his bond?
It had beautiful verse, existential angst, and it was surprisingly humorous. The book, it has two distinct parts. This review was only concerned about the first part because the second part was truly unintelligible for me at this point. Which is a weird thing. It's hard to review a book where the first part is pretty amazing and very worthwhile for most people to read, while the second part is like, okay, this is not even the same thing. So my review only concerns the first part. I really liked Faust, and I think as I will hear more reference to it and know more about its place in history and its impact, I would probably read this again sometime. And I would recommend, if you're like me, have English as a second language, a dramatized version on audio is the perfect way to enjoy this book, because the verse flows in a very natural way, which is hard for me to emulate when I read it myself, since I'm not a native English speaker. I recommend Faust. And that's it for the book review today. Don't forget to subscribe and comment below. What kind of classics have you read this year? I want to be inspired to read more classics because, yeah, as I said before, classics are classics for a reason usually. That's it for this week. I'm back on Thursday with another review. Until then, Björn out.